I'm Joe Sullivan. Thanks for joining us for 5 on 5 with Senator Wyden. Senator, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
What are your thoughts on the end of the government shutdown?
Well, first of all, I drew a red line when it came to this healthcare debate and said, if you're going to have a 500% increase in your premiums, I'm going to make sure that we get some relief. Donald Trump and the Republicans weren't interested in that. That wasn't part of where they were going to set the bar, and that's why I voted against.
The shutdown lasted 43 days. What did the Democrats accomplish during the shutdown?
Well, we kept insisting that we have an opportunity to sit down and work in a bipartisan way. That's what we're going to have to do again. We've got an opportunity coming up starting Wednesday in the Senate Finance Committee. The Republicans have scheduled the hearing. I'll have ideas. They're talking about big insurance companies ought to be changed around. If they're serious, I'll get into it. Put me down as skeptical because I've never seen them take on big insurance companies before.
So if this doesn't go right, end of January, we could be facing the same situation, right?
I'm not going to speculate about something, once again, that hasn't even been part of a discussion. Let's focus on getting this done and getting relief. We're going to have a couple coming from Oregon that have these 500% increases in premiums. Let's get results for them and get them relief.
Newport on the Oregon coast is being discussed as an ICE facility, a possible location. Residents there are very unhappy about that. What are your thoughts? Can you do anything to block that? I'm
going to fight this with everything I've got. I mean, Newport's a wonderful community. I can't imagine having a detention facility there. They do fishing and tourism. We don't want to have these kids, walk by detention facilities on the way to the aquarium. So I'm going to fight this with everything I've got.
Have the residents there reached out to you about this?
Well, we've heard from a number of folks on the coast. I'm going to have an open-to-all town hall meeting there in about a week.
Jeffrey Epstein emails were released this week, and they mentioned Donald Trump. You've said many times, follow the money. Where are we with this investigation?
This was an important week because this involved the Justice Department, and the tip of the iceberg may go into a sea of lies there. But the reality is, if you really want to capture wrongdoing, you ought to follow the money. That's how Al Capone got caught, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Does that include J.P. Morgan Chase, looking at those emails?
Absolutely. The reality is J.P. Morgan clearly had people who, in my view, were looking the other way when Epstein was doing all this, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
You think this is just the tip of the iceberg?
I think we've got a lot more to do, and the justice lane is what people were talking about this week. But the Treasury Department has these suspicious activity reports, what are called SARs. That's when I think we'll get into some important developments.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with part 2 of our 5 on 5. Stay with us. I'm Joe Sullivan. Welcome back to part 2 of our 5 on 5 with Senator Wyden. And where are we with your effort to repeal President Trump's global tariffs?
Well, we won a major vote in the Senate. It was 51-47, probably one of the most important pieces of legislation I've sponsored because trade is so important to Oregon. 1 out of 4 jobs depends on trade. The trade jobs often pay better than do the non-trade jobs. We woke up this morning and we heard accounts that Trump is talking about reducing some of those tariffs. That'd be good news. And I think part of it is we won the big vote in the Senate, which will be so good for Oregon, but also Trump's team did not do well at the Supreme Court trying to defend their across the board 180 different tariffs.
Don't you need help from the House, though, to get this done?
We obviously have to have support in the House, but I think the fact that the Supreme Court arguments went so well for our side and we had a number of conservatives supporting us in the Senate, I think we're well positioned.
The Trump administration plans on a review of an important medication for abortion. You're passionate about this. Could you talk about it, please?
Yeah, the question is, are you going to be governed by science or politics? And I had the very first hearing on mifepristone, the drug you're talking about. There were trials at the Oregon Health Sciences Center, and I said then, we're going to follow what the scientists say, and the evidence is that it is a safe drug.
Are you worried about the possible cancellation of this drug or taken away from the American public?
There is no question that there's some in the Trump administration who don't want to follow this science-first kind of principle. So you bet we are following it very actively and going to do everything we can to get the facts in front of the American people.
We've talked about a lot of topics today. We have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like our viewers to know about?
Well, the reason the healthcare issue is so important is that if you and your loved ones don't have their health, everything else goes by the board. And so I've taken a pledge for Oregonians that I'll have this red line. I'm going to stay at it until their costs and premiums go down.
Senator Wyden, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with more local news.